Good Friday morning, everybody, or maybe Friday noon if you're Atlantic time. My name is Todd Hirsch, and you are live on The Take. This is our weekly show where we break down topics related to economics, geopolitics, and this week, actually, we've got a few additional topics that we're going to get into. Thank you for joining. My name is Todd Hirsch. I am a speaker, author, and economist based in Calgary. And my special guest host this week is a dear friend of mine. She will pop up any minute now, Melanie Marshall. There she is. Hi, Mel.
Hey, here I am.
Here you are. Melanie Marshall is a journalist, former BBC journalist, Peabody Prize winning journalist, and professional speaker, and other things too, I think we can get into. She is Toronto-based, but she is joining us this morning from my hometown, beautiful Edmonton, Alberta. How are you, Mel?
I am great. It is so nice to be out here, although being on mountain time, being in Edmonton, I don't even know if I'm allowed to speak to you in Calgary. I don't know how it works these days.
Well, as long as we avoid hockey topics, I think we're okay.
We're okay? All right,
Well, I
great.
don't know. I mean, because it's my hometown, I always feel I'm an honorary citizen. I was in Edmonton this week. I'm an honorary citizen of both cities. I have a deep love and appreciation for each of them. I always joke I cheer for the Oilers, but I pay municipal tax in Calgary. So it's sort of the worst of both worlds, or maybe the best. I don't know.
Yeah, you cover both sides. Well, I was born in Lethbridge, and so I spent about 2 years living in Calgary when I was a little girl, and I've got loads of family in Edmonton, so I feel very home here. But yeah, it's really nice to be with you today. It's nice to sit and talk about some stuff that matters to Canadians and folks further afield.
Well, welcome to Alberta. Now, we've got a slightly abbreviated show this week. We're going to go to 9:20. So let's get right into it. The first topic I want to get into, and it's our only sort of hard economic topic this week. There wasn't a ton of economic news, but our friends at the Bank of Canada, they had one of their, what they call their fixed announcement dates. Those are the 8 dates of the year, which are prescribed in the calendar, where the Bank of Canada makes an announcement if they are making any adjustments to their overnight interest rate, or which is the trend-setting rate for borrowing rates across the country. Now, this week, not surprising the markets or anybody, they kept their overnight rate at 2.25%, the 5th consecutive announcement date where they did not change rates. So we've seen rates very steady for quite a while. The Bank of Canada Governor Tiff Macklem, who actually used to be my boss when I worked at the Bank of Canada, he, in the press release that they issued, basically said, on balance, things are about where we expect them to be. There's a lot of headwinds that the Canadian economy is facing. The CUSMA review, the trade with the U.S., of course, the ongoing war in the Middle East. But we are also seeing a softening economy. At the same time, a threat of inflation rising. So basically, he said, things are more or less balanced. We're not changing rates. Now, here's my question for you, Mel. You are a professional speaker. You're a trained and intelligent and educated journalist. You're a very intelligent person, but you're not an economist. And I'm always curious for lay people like yourselves, do people pay any attention to what the Bank of Canada is saying?
It's such a good question. I spend so much time speaking to people on the ground and then trying to tell people at different levels, whether or not it matters. And the truth is, no. Right? But what they do get is, if it changed, they're looking for signals of relief or continuing to feel pressure.
Okay.
And I think that what you're experiencing if you go to a grocery store or you go to a gas pump is you're experiencing signals of pressure and constraint. So people feel that.
Right.
And what they might have noticed is if the bank rate had changed, they would have taken that as a signal that people who were intelligent and knew better thought things were going to get better.
Yeah.
And so instead, people tend to stay quite focused on, okay, well, wait a second. Am I going to go out for my anniversary this weekend? Am I going to change how I'm living? Like, what I have seen is that there is a real disconnect between how people on Bay Street are feeling about the economy and about the
Yeah.
uncertainty, and how people who are maybe out in Osoyoos or in Lethbridge are feeling.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I actually think that gap is more important than whether or not the Bank of Canada changes their interest rates.
Well, that makes a lot of sense because, economists, we do tend to live in a little bit of a bubble.
Mhm.
When I wake up on June 10, I know exactly today is the date at 10 a.m. Eastern time. The Bank of Canada is going to be, but I've always kind of had the sense no one else is paying any attention to this, but they do pay attention when the gas goes up at the pump,
Mhm.
and they see it jump 10 cents, and all of a sudden they got to fill up their tank of gas, and now they're thinking, I don't know if I have money left over for pizza night tonight with my
Yeah.
kids,
And
right?
those are the signals. So when we're paying attention to what you're doing, for me, I'm like, well, is Todd going to tell me, what is Todd going to tell me about what that means?
Mm,
We're looking for context.
yeah.
And if that context becomes really divorced from how people are living, so, not just spin off into craziness, right? But, all this coverage about the SpaceX IPO, right? And we all get really wildly into it, right? Well, trillionaires everywhere. That actually doesn't mean very much to a lot of people
No,
either,
no.
except as celebrity news.
Yeah.
It's like, how does this all connect? And what people are feeling is they're thinking, how the heck did a war in Iran become so important to my life?
Yeah.
Right? How the heck did Kuzma become so important to my life when I couldn't say it last year? And so that's what I think they want to understand. What I want to understand from you, right? That's where people are trying to find somebody they trust to talk to.
Yeah. Well, and if I'm doing my job on a
Mhm.
regular basis when I'm out giving my keynotes, that is what I try to do.
Yeah.
I try to break down in language people can understand. Here are the big things going on.
Mhm.
And I'm always careful to say, I can't really predict what is going to happen next, but I can give you a sense of how this is going to impact your business or how this is going to impact your personal life. And then also some strategies around how do we navigate our way through all of this uncertainty.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, of course.
So it didn't change.
Yep.
So for my friends and I, is that good or bad? Does that mean that actually we are all in trouble? What does it mean?
Well, it depends. That's the famous economist answer. It
I know,
depends.
I'm trying to get you further than
It
that.
depends if you're a borrower or a saver. If you're a
Mhm.
borrower and you're looking, you got to renegotiate your mortgage this month or right away. The fact that rates did not change is probably good news because there is a sense the Bank of Canada could have raised rates if inflation, in fact, was starting to get out of control. But if you were a saver, you'd actually like to see some higher interest rates because then that trickles down into the rest of the economy, higher rates for GICs and different things that you might
Mhm.
invest in. So it really does depend. But I think for now, the fact that the Bank of Canada is holding steady, I think overall, this is a good signal because I think it's signaling that the economy is not cratering. We're not.
Mhm.
In fact, Tiff Macklin kind of went out of his way to say we're not really in a recession. So let's set that word aside. But inflation is also not yet really digging in quite as badly as the Bank of Canada was fearing. So overall, I think this is in a very complicated, chaotic world. I think the fact that the Bank of Canada is holding steady is actually pretty good news.
I love that. I love how you put that because I think that's what people want, right? It's sort of like when put the word recession aside, because that's the word that everyone's got in their head, right? That's what
Right.
people think about when gas jumps 10 cents.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, for me, I'm like, oh, okay, things aren't getting better or worse. At least then I can sort of keep planning.
Yeah.
Which is what most of us want. And that's been my experience when I'm speaking to people. That's what most of them want.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, before we get into the next topic, I do
Mhm.
want to remind listeners and people tuning in, feel free for questions for either myself or Mel, or just questions to the universe. Or if you have comments, you can type those in to the comments section, and Peter, who runs everything in the background, will bring those up for us. But if the next topic I want to get into, Mel, is about artificial intelligence. And here's the setup to my question for you. Do you know the TV show Hacks?
Yes.
Jean
Oh,
Smart.
do
And
I
yeah,
know the TV show
I mean,
Hacks? Come
it's the
on.
best thing. My partner and I watched the last season. We finished this last season this week. But there was a really interesting dialogue. I forget her character, or her character's name on the show is uh, Eva. I
Mhm.
forget. I don't know the actress's name in real life. Anyway, she had this whole
Hannah
thing.
Einbender. Sorry,
Oh,
just
okay. So you know it. She's fantastic. But there was this conversation around artificial intelligence, and on the show, there was a charlatan who was trying to buy Deborah Vance's voice to create this AI app all around. This AI app is going to make jokes for people and blah, blah, blah. But the conversation that, or the comment that was made in the show that caught my attention was this whole thing that the charlatan said, well, AI is inevitable. You've got to get on board with it. And Ava says, is it really inevitable, or are you just telling us it's inevitable because you are selling it to us? Don't we get to control what is inevitable? And that really made me think. So here's my question to you, Mel. Is all of this AI, is it inevitable, or do we have some agency?
I'm glad you told me we had a shortened show and then asked me that question. It's if you haven't watched that season, do yourself a favor. Secondly, is AI inevitable as a technology? Yes, it is. Does that mean we don't have agency? No. Those two things are separate. And
Mm,
that's where I think we're getting scared, and we're getting a little bit of the flim flam snake oil show from some of the people who are selling it to us. The technology itself is, in some ways, maybe as transformative as the printing press in terms of how it is changing how we think, how we transmit information, how we create, whether we
yeah,
like that or not. But do we have agency over whether there are guardrails, whether there are regulations, how we decide to use it?
hmm,
Yes, absolutely we do. And that is like step one is saying, well, wait a second, how I engage is a choice. Step two, how my organization and my team engages is a choice. And step three, we do like this is not so far gone. There are plenty. I was having a catch up with a friend of mine who has a startup in Silicon Valley, which is AI cybersecurity. And we were having this conversation just the other night before I came out here. And this whole question, everybody starts peppering him with the but surely it's all evil, blah, 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 and then this poor guy just wanted to have like a barbecue with university friends. And I'm like, hang on, everybody. He's trying to do good things.
yeah,
He's trying to create guardrails. He's saying there is a choice. And that was what he was talking about, is in all these rooms he's in, there's kind of different sides. There are people who are going for unfettered regulation, saying, I want to do whatever I want to do. And
hmm,
there are plenty of, particularly in the security space, people who are saying, well, that's a horrible idea. Let's create AI that is inevitably supporting the kind of society we want.
yeah,
So, I mean, as individuals, we have a choice. We have a
right.
choice in how we use it in our businesses. And yes, we have a choice in society.
Now, the tech bros, and I use that term sort of broadly to
Yeah.
refer to anyone who is basically saying we don't need guardrails, we can't afford guardrails, we've got to be pedal to the metal on this. Their argument would be, if we put a lot of guardrails and are very cautious and calculated and go slow with this, China's going to eat our lunch. Like, it's going to happen. How do you respond to that, or what is the
Well,
counterpoint to
so
that?
that's where you have to start asking who benefits, right? This is always the question I'd ask in any situation, is who benefits, right? It's a great journalistic question. It's a great question for life. So who benefits from them saying that? They do.
Yeah.
Does China benefit from them saying that? China is going to do what China does, right? And the funny thing is if you actually look at what China is doing, China is investing a lot in regulation.
Hmm.
So it's,
Probably
China
more
might
so
be
than what the tech bros want to.
what the tech bros would like.
Yeah.
right? So China, I'm not saying China is a benign player. I'm not saying that China isn't going to hack or other players aren't going to hack, but that's the technology is out there. These things are going to be created. China is as a boogeyman who is going to eat our lunch has nothing to do with whether or not these guys get regulated.
Right. Yeah.
That is about them just trying to make more money and do what they'd like. China, in fact, you could argue that China's doing amazing things. And they also, like, remember when DeepSeek came out and we were all like, oh, DeepSeek, it's the end of the AI race. And it wasn't.
And it wasn't.
Who's using DeepSeek anymore?
Yeah.
So that's just, to me, that is a straw man. China is doing amazing, and they will continue to do it, and they will continue to use it in ways we may not like. However, they may end up ahead of us in cybersecurity and cyber regulations simply because they're such, how do I put this? Because I want to go back there soon, a controlled government.
Yeah. Now, we do have a question from a viewer. I want to jump in and ask that question. How do we balance AI? So much is censored and curated in some of the programming. Do you want to take that question, Mel?
So how do we balance it is, I think you have to start by assuming it is a well-meaning but very dim intern. We often treat it right now like it is some sort of a deity. So Craig, if you want to know how you balance it, you're right. So much is censored or curated. The tech is so good right now. The deep fakes, you cannot tell.
Yeah.
This friend of mine I was talking about, his parents almost fell for a scam that Warren Buffett had told them to sell all their silver. And to convince them that wasn't true, he made a deep fake of Warren Buffett saying, this is so-and-so, so-and-so's parents, don't believe everything you see from AI. So my starting point with AI is stay judgy. Start with the belief that it is probably going to need a lot of guidance, and it's probably not acting in your best interests. And then you use it like a microwave, not like a god.
I love that. So the technology, to wrap this up, the technology is inevitable. Our response and our use of it is not inevitable. That is up to us. And governments to decide how are we going to regulate this.
Absolutely. And that's what I've seen, like, I hate to do that, like in decades of war zones, but in decades of war zones, everywhere we go, people are like, is this inevitable? Or, is this going to happen? Nothing is inevitable. Nothing is inevitable in its result or consequence. Events happen that are so huge and beyond our control. But what I have seen everywhere in places where you think, wow, how could anyone do anything here? We always have a choice about how we respond as humans and as organizations.
Yeah, I love that. And that segues into our very last topic. And we've only got about 2 minutes because we got a hard stop time. Now, briefly, Mel, tell the audience what you and I are doing this coming Wednesday, June 17, in Calgary.
I am so excited. And thank you, Todd. You invited me. Todd is a wonderful human. I think you all know this if you're watching. Aside from being super smart, we are hosting an evening called By the Way, We're Not Doomed. We are looking at how do we navigate a world in chaos and the practical steps that you can take as wonderful humans to be in these moments and move forward. So we're not going to necessarily tell you about interest rates, but we are going to tell you how to be in this time and how to move forward, whatever you're seeing. So that's going to be Todd and I. You can see the details up there. And it's a community event. We don't want anyone to be held back. I think we're actually sold out right now. But
we are sold out. We are accepting donations for the Calgary Food Bank.
For the Calgary Food Bank, I'm going to put something up about the type of food they'd like. Because actually, talking about what we do, look for what's useful to do.
Yeah.
You don't need to save the world. Just figure out if actually what people need is a can of beans or toilet paper.
The event is sold out, unfortunately, if you haven't already registered. However, if you go to Eventbrite and search Calgary, search By the Way, We're Not Doomed, there might be some people who have had to cancel their tickets because of something else. Or, let me know if you really, really do want to come. We can always squeeze in a few more. But the event is sold out, so we're not actively promoting it anymore. But
No.
the good news is we are going to be live streaming this on a LinkedIn Live. So Peter, of course, my LinkedIn Live tech guy and organizer of everything in my life around technology, he will be sending out notices on LinkedIn about how you can join live on Wednesday, June 17 at 7 o'clock. With that, Mel, we got to wrap up. I cannot wait until you are actually in Calgary and the event on Wednesday. So have a great weekend up in Edmonton visiting relatives.
Yes, I'm going to enjoy my time with my family, and I can't wait to see you, Todd. And everybody else, this is just a chance to be together and just talk about what we want things to look like.
Be kind, everyone. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next Friday.